Hey, how's it going, everybody? So this is going to be a live book sourcing with Keepa and also some Amazon bookseller Q&A. So hopefully some people are going to be here live and we can we can ask and answer some good questions, but hopefully we can also find some decent books. Let me just make sure everything on my end looks good over here, and then we're going to get right into doing some sourcing. Let's see. All right, I think we're good to go. Let me share my screen. So first, hopefully everyone out there is doing okay and doing well, and they're finding some books. And if you do find books using the methods that I'm showing you, I'd love if you reached out to me behind the scenes or if you just commented on some videos because it definitely shows that the strategies are viable and it's just good for me to know like, hey, people are finding value from this. So if you're finding value from this, let me know behind the scenes, and um, and then we can even connect behind the scenes. Hey, how's it? Am I ARAM or RM? I was probably RM. Am I saying it right? Hey, from Los Angeles. Nice to see you. I'm actually in San Diego, so we're not that far away. We could probably even local meetup one day. But nice to see you. Thanks for coming. Yep. Okay. Awesome, man. Okay, so today we're gonna use the product finder tool on Keepa. So for those of you who don't know, Keepa is a Chrome extension. You can go download it on the Google Chrome Web Store. And once you have it downloaded here, you can come over here to the product finder tool. And today what we're going to do is put in specific parameters to see if we can return results that could be profitable. What's up, my man, Terry? Hello from Alabama. Thanks for supporting all the time. Thanks for commenting on the videos. I appreciate the support. And let's get into this. And RM, by the way, you're up early, man. You're up at 6:30, so you're sacrificing just like me. So I appreciate you being here. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do for product finder today. I'm gonna actually look for books with ranks a little bit higher, 2.5 million, but for the 180-day average, I'm actually gonna keep it at the 2 million. So let's see, we're gonna go from 1 to 2 million, like that. And the reason why I'm gonna go a little bit higher is because I noticed that some of the books that I'm buying could actually be a little bit higher than 2 million at the time that I buy it, but because it does sell throughout the year, it drops below 2.5 million. So I'm going to keep the 100-day average at 2 million, but the current rank could be up to 2.5 million. May says, greetings from Florida. Hello. Nice. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Okay, I see, RM. You got to check sales, right? Got to get it early. Got to check the sales. Got to check your account health too, right? All right. For this first set of buying, I'm going to see if we can find books that are worth a little bit less. Because generally I don't look at books that are worth less, but I just want to see if there's some potential there. So we're going to look for used books between $0 and $6. But for the 180-day average, we want that used price to be, let's say, let's try to do at least $35. And in the last 30 days, the average, maybe we'll just leave that. We'll just say 100-day average, $35, and then now it's between 0 and 6. So we are looking for books, at least right now, that might be a little bit cheaper. And we want Amazon's new price to be a little bit higher than 35, because if we're going to pick up a book for, like, let's say $6 plus shipping, would be all in for 10. For us to really make profit, we'd probably have to sell it for like minimum $35. So Amazon, let's just say Amazon's got to be at least like $50, and the new price from third party has to be at least 45. So let's just see if these parameters work and if they bring back anything that's interesting. Of course, I'm going to select the book category, but for all of you out there that use these other, or that source in these other niches, like, I mean, you could apply these same filters to all these different categories. I just don't particularly use them, so we'll see. It looks like we got 8 results back, so maybe we'll see something good. Let's see. Okay, this looks interesting to me. Massive repricing war going on here. But the reason why I clicked on this is because for a long period of time throughout the year, the price of this book is actually really high, and it's also pretty consistent. And then all of a sudden, it's just gone down in price. But the used offer count looks not terrible. Like, it is up a little bit, but it's not up drastically that I think would warrant this repricing. So let's see who's on the listing. And by the way, box of this book is $80 to $85. Now, I'm not saying we can sell it for that necessarily, but it's just interesting. Okay, and for some reason, okay, this is why. So I don't know if anyone's come across this when you use Keep a Deals page, but for whatever reason, this Studbook US guy, he loves low prices with a huge shipping. I don't know why he does that, but yeah. So Raspberry says, "Why? What do I mean when I say a repricing war?" Okay, this actually is not a repricing war. Well, this one's a little bit misleading because actually the lowest used price with shipping included is $48. But what I mean by that, Raspberry, is that if I don't know if you're familiar with something called a repricer, but a lot of Amazon sellers, they use repricers to automatically change their pricing so that they don't have to manually update it all the time. And most people, when they have a repricer, they set the rule to match the buy box. And you can see that over here on the right, this is called the buy box. This is the price that if someone were to come on this listing and they wanted to buy it in either used or new condition, they would just click that button and they can press checkout. So because so many Amazon FBA sellers are trying to match the buy box to the repricer, or trying to match the buy box, there could be instances where instead of matching the buy box, they set the rule to undercut the buy box by like $1 or by a penny. And what happens is if there are two people that have the same rule with the repricer, which is to undercut the buy box by a penny or by $1, then eventually they're just going to keep, like the softwares are going to keep undercutting themselves. And you can get to a point where the price of the book becomes absurdly cheap when you compare it to its previous historical data. This would have been an amazing example, except for the fact that the person who's at $3.50 or whatever actually has like $49.99 shipping. So this is actually not the best example of that, but that's what it means. Let's keep going to see if any of these look good. All right. Okay, let's open this up on Amazon. Again, this is another book for me that generally the used price of this book throughout the year has been pretty high, especially back here in January through May. What's a little bit concerning is that Amazon actually came down on the listing in terms of price for the new copy. They came down to 48, and they even came down to 27. So that's a little bit alarming. The used offer count is rising a little bit as well, which is that is a little bit alarming considering it doesn't sell a ton of the time. Yeah, you're welcome, Rasley. Let's go and open this up on Amazon and let's see what the used offers look like. By the way, the buy box for this book is 57. So today, if you wanted to buy this book and you're a customer and you came across it and you had no idea that you could click this used offer tab, you would just check out at $57. So, I guess that's that. So it looks like College Bookstore stock. It's got this at 681, liquidation factor 681. Look how nice. These arrived before Christmas. That's awesome. We got, looks like 3 copies around like $7. They're all competing for the lowest offer. And then we go up to 10, 14, 35. And like I said, right now the buy box is 57. What's interesting is Amazon shot all the way back up. So after they were down at 27, they shot all the way back up at 96. I see you're from Echoes and Checkmates channels. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. So what's interesting, is that Amazon came down and third party came down in price, but they kind of went right back up in price really quickly. So if you were to buy this book, you run the risk of that happening again. But let's see if that's happened in the past. So that actually hasn't happened in the past. In this book, even though it does have a newer edition out, in the past it's been selling pretty consistently for good money. I'm curious to know how, like, when this new edition came out. And it looks like if you look at the Keepa chart, this probably just barely came out because the sales rank is just starting to drop a couple times. So let's see if we can actually see the publication date. So December 8th, 2022. So this literally came out 2 days ago. Hey, what's up, Clint? He says, hey man, late. No, man, you're not late at all. You're only like 8 minutes. We're just getting started, man. We're just getting started. So it looks like this new edition just came on the listing and was just available to be bought. But the good thing about new books when they come out is usually their new price is going to stay very elevated for a long period of time. Well, not a long period of time, but usually at least like a year or maybe 2 years. It just depends on the publishing cycle, like how often there's a new edition. So I would still probably feel comfortable buying this book, even though there's that newer edition out, considering the data. Now, again, the one thing that kind of scares me a little bit is this part here, which is the Amazon new price coming down, because they could do that in the future as well. Let's see. It says they have, where's Amazon at? Okay, Amazon. So it says they have 1,000 plus in stock, which means because this book is not selling so frequently, they could just plummet the price down to this amount again, especially because there's a new edition coming out. So actually, the fact that they have 1,000 might make me a little bit more hesitant. But if you were to pick this book up, you don't necessarily need to sell it for this $70 or this $48 to be profitable, because I think it was $6 and let's see, you could buy this $6.81 shipped. So like, let's say you picked it up for $6.81. I mean, if you just sold it for like, even if you sold it for $29.99, you would make $9, which is not an amazing flip. But right now the buy box is 57. So theoretically, the person who bought this book right here on December 3rd, they could have bought it from the buy box price. And you can see that the buy box price at that time was 60. So I don't know. I'd probably pass on that just because I saw Amazon has come down in the past really low, and there's a lot in stock, and there's a new edition out. Okay, let's see. Here's another interesting one. Okay, this book has sold a handful of times in the past for about $50, and then it didn't sell for 6 or 7 months. Now all of a sudden its price is down to $5. So a lot of times when I'm going through this sourcing, I'm trying to think, okay, looking at the book, what is the reason for this not selling? Is it because there's a new edition out? Is it because the price of the book is too high? Like, what's the reason for it not selling? So in my mind right now, I'm trying to figure out, why did it stop selling from here to here? And is this responding to clients' iceberg factors? Usually the giveaway that this is a textbook is they'll say there'll be an edition name on it, but I don't see an edition name on it. 2020. Let's just look at the used offers. We have one at $9.77 free shipping, $5.79, $5.79. So looks like there's about 4 or 5. Looks like there's 5 offers that are really close to each other. And then what are the prime offers at? There's a couple at 44. Okay. The used offer count on this book has risen significantly from when it was selling back over here. But the reason for that is because no one bought the book. So this whole time this book was listed and it wasn't selling, people were still coming on the listing. Now, if you go back 1,000 days, the price of this book is pretty good. And a lot of the time, actually, there was no used offer because there just weren't there wasn't anyone who had this in stock to use. And it looks like you had to buy it new from Amazon for $79.99. So I'm curious, is there a new edition of this book? Because if not, this could be a good pickup. I'm just going to go ahead and type this in to both Amazon and then Google to see if this comes up at all. So let's see. You can see that it shows a date here. So this responding to clients' iceberg factors. This looks like it's also another book, but actually that's a workbook. Okay, that's a workbook. Let me go and paste it into Google as well. Let's see what comes up from Google. So the Amazon listing comes back. I'm trying to find the publisher. Who's the publisher on this book? Let's take a look. Let's go down to the bottom. Publisher. It says independently published. Okay. I don't think then that this is going to have a new edition, especially if it's independently published. Because normally if there's a textbook that's going to be mainstream, it's definitely not going to be independently published. So not sure why this hasn't sold in the last 6 months, but I would say if it were me, I'd probably actually pick up like 1 copy. But I want to do more than that just because it hasn't been selling. What you would spend $9.77 and 44 is the buy box. Again, historically, this book in the first 6 months of the year is selling for 50. So I think if someone wants this book, which clearly somebody did right here, it's unclear whether or not that was a reseller or if that was somebody who needed the book. But if someone were to come across this book and they needed a prime, they'd have to pay 44. So you can make $16, but let's see what would the break-even price be on this. Break-even would be $24.28. So I think you probably would be able to sell this for break-even, worst-case scenario, and make your money back. But I would probably pick up 1 copy if it were me personally. Let's see what else. Okay, let's keep going. Still not an amazing deal, but that's there. Okay, let's look at this University Calculus book. This was selling for about $40 to $50 in August and September, and then in January and February. So this is a stereotypical textbook season style book where it's selling basically when students are going back to school in August and also in January. And then outside of that, it sold once in June. Hasn't really sold since then, but this is a great example, if you're still here, Raspberry, of a repricing war. The price on November 16th was $55, and then about 10 days later, it's all the way down to, what is this, $8? Now it's currently sitting at $5. So let's look up the Amazon listing, and let's look at what the used offers look like. See how we're doing. Multivariable. First thing I'm checking is to see if there's another edition, which it doesn't look like there is another edition. looks like Amazon for some reason is out of stock, even though it says temporarily out of stock, even though it says 1,000 plus. So maybe it's back ordered. That would be my guess. And if we look at the full breadth of data, this book looks pretty healthy, right? It's, with the few exceptions of 2021, the price of this book has been usually north of about $40. And at times, especially during the textbook season, you can see when the U shape, right, this pattern has been pretty consistent, that the book has been up to $60, $70. So let's take a look at the offers, see where we can go there. Rashly is still here. Let's go. Yes, I appreciate it. Looks like we got 3 sellers who are looking for the lowest used price here, right around $9. Then it goes to 15, 25, 33, and then up to 55. So there aren't too many offers here. And one thing that you could do is go back to August and January and count the number of sales, because obviously this book doesn't sell a lot. It definitely does sell during the textbook season, but this would be 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Okay, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 sales in August. And if we go back to just January of this year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it looks like 8 sales at least in January and 7 sales at least over here in September. So if you look at the used offers, you got to say, okay, if history repeats itself and 7 copies do get purchased, where would the 5th or 6th offer be that could still get a sale? Let's just assume that the first 3 that are the cheapest are going to go. So that'd be 1, 2, 3. There's actually 2 copies here, so that'd be 4, 5. This would be 6. So then you might think, okay, well, the next price of the next book that would be available on the 7th purchase might be this one for 33, which is not ideal if we're buying it for $9. I mean, actually, if you sold it at 33, you might be a little bit profitable. But what we also have to assume is that a lot of people buying the book are buying it from the buy box and also are buying it prime. So then we can say what offers are prime. Looks like this would be 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th prime offer is 84. So because there's only really 3 prime offers before it gets to 84, and if you do buy this book, you would take one of these prime offers away, then there'd only be 2 prime offers before we get to the 3rd offer. I think that this could be a potential buy if you're going to get this book in for January, February, because that would be the textbook season, and also if you're going to sell this Amazon FBA. Because obviously it's a different market if you're trying to sell it merchant fulfilled. But I think if you could buy this book, get it in, this definitely has potential. Now, I noticed that these were acceptable copies, I believe. Except for this one, this Good Book Cafe is $5.44. And then you have Glenn the Bookseller. So if we buy this for, let's say, $9.41, right now the buy box is $9.41 because that's what the prime seller's at. They're probably just trying to get rid of their inventory, because what's probably happened to them. What's up, Steve? Nothing much, man. Glad you're coming out to check out the stream. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, the interesting thing about this is that the prime seller who's in the buy box here, they're probably just trying to get rid of their dead stock, because they probably hit with restock limits. So they're like, dude, let me just get this out. And that's probably why you see this repricing war, is because there's a prime seller and another merchant fulfiller, and they're just like, you know what? I just got to get rid of this book as a prime seller so I can send in more inventory. So that's probably the reason. But yeah, this is a book that I think is completely possible for you to flip this if you were to sell it in January. But again, if you don't sell it in January, the risk is that you're gonna have to wait another 9 months to sell in August. So definitely not the best pickup, but I definitely think there's potential with that book if you wanted to. Okay, let's look at this one here. Yeah, exactly, Terry. Tons of FBA sellers with fire sales right now because of the fee increases in January. That, and also I would say restock limits for sure, man. All right, so here's another book we found, the Product Finder tool, right? The reason why I clicked on this listing from that tool is basically throughout most of this year, the used price has been pretty consistently above $50, and there have been sales rank drops indicating that the book has been selling. And then recently, even despite the used offer and the new offer count not really going up too much, the used price is all of a sudden down here in the gutter at $391. So is it possible to buy this on Amazon and flip it for what it's actually worth? It doesn't look to me. Actually, this might be a textbook. It says first edition here. I don't see a new edition populating here. Let's see when this was published. In 2006. Okay, my bet is that if this book was published in 2006, there's probably not a second edition coming out, because that's kind of too long for a textbook cycle, especially if this is a mainstream textbook. So let's look at the whole breadth of data. since 2012, which would have been 6 years after this book was published. So I guess that's when Keepa started tracking the data. The use price of this book has never been lower than it is today. And you can see that even in 2019 and 2020, when the price came down, since then the price has actually gone up because the used offer count has gone down again. So the number of offers available on the marketplace are down. And even right now, the number of used offers count is really low. Looks like there's one person tracking this for $23. So they probably need to update their tracking because the price of this book has come down quite a bit. But let's take a look at the used offers and let's see what the potential is here. All right. Looks like there's actually 3 copies at $18, or actually there's 2 copies at $14. So this person at $3.91 is asking $11 for shipping. And you know, sometimes that's kind of the bummer with sourcing this way, is that when we're looking for the lowest use price, it doesn't include shipping. So a lot of the times there are sellers that will offer their book really low and offer a lot. So this is actually $14.95, and it $14.95, $14.95, then it goes to $18.95, and then it goes up to $65. You know, this book has decent sell through. I mean, again, my strategy is I sell longer tail books, so it's all relative to kind of the items that you're selling. You know, some people would say this book is not selling at all, but you know, I could count the number of sales, and again, if I'm buying this at a good price, I think I can still make a decent amount of money. So let's say we were to buy this at $14, and let's see, it'd be $14.95. But first, let's see what the prime offer is. So there's one prime offer, $18.95. Okay, let's see what we might be able to sell this for. $14.95 here. Okay, and if we just sold it for what it's historically worth, let's just say $46.99, then you'd make $13 selling that book. Now again, there is one prime offer. My bet would be that this person is probably going to get the next sale because they're in the buy box. But once they're out of the buy box, if we go to prime offers, there actually is nobody. You'd be the only prime seller once this book sells. And I do believe, since there is no new edition of this book out, and the used offer count hasn't increased, my bet is that right now the price of this book is so low, again, because an FBA seller is trying to get rid of their inventory, and as a result, they brought the price down, and so everyone else on the listing, the 2 other people who have a repricer, are matching the buy box. And so, in other words, I think this book's undervalued. I think you could buy this, and I think you could probably flip this for $48 or $46. And by the way, like I said, once that prime seller is gone, I mean, Amazon new price right now is $90. It has been as low as 70, actually as low as 63 here, but there's even potential to go a little bit higher with the prime bump. But I think you could sell it for its historical value, which is like $45 to $55. Terry says, do you buy hardback copies even when there are better ranked and cheaper softbacks? From my experience, Terry, the hardcover and the paperback are 2 separate listings. Right. Another actual indication that this hardcover is undervalued is that the paperback of the same book is actually way higher in price than the hardcover. And if you know anything about books, generally hardcovers are more sought after because they're sturdier and people will pay more money for them. They're also more expensive to produce. So this is actually just another indicator that I think the books over here on this listing are undervalued and that you can make money by buying that. But what I'd say, Terry, is from my experience, I've noticed that paperback and hardcover, the difference between them is large enough that I see them as separate marketplaces. And I definitely have sold books on the hardcover listing for double, triple, quadruple the price of the paperback, and vice versa. It just depends on the market at that time. And I think the reason for that is a lot of the times when you have books that sell a lot, people are just not, like, there's just a certain percentage of people who don't do the research. They're just going to say, I need this book. They'll come up with a paperback, you know, the paperback listing here, and they'll actually check out and pay $29.31 when they could have gone over here to hardcover, which is the same exact book, and paid $18.95. So I just think that you know, we always talk about there being inefficiencies in the marketplace with the sellers. I also think there's inefficiencies with the buyers, like the customers. A lot of the times I think they just don't know. But this is definitely a book that I'm going to save, because if no one buys that copy, I'm going to go back at the end of the stream and I'm going to buy it. But how's it going, Blaine? Nice to see you, man. Good to see you here in the chat. Thanks for coming by. Okay. So I'm not going to look at that one, but let's go back to the advanced filters and let's see if we can find books that are a little bit higher priced now and see if there's potential there. Because again, I was looking at books that were a little bit cheaper here. So we're going to go down to the used offer. We said we're looking for books between 0 and 6. Let's raise that to between 6 and 12. And for the lowest 180-day average, the lowest 100-day average, let's try to look for 45 now. And let's go back up to the Amazon price, and let's bump that up a little bit. Let's say we now want this to be 60, and we want the new third party to also be, let's say, 55. And that comes back with 21 results. Hopefully this filters out the results from previous, because now we're looking at books, instead of 0 to 6, we're looking at books from 6 to 12. So theoretically, we should get different results here. And again, what I'm looking for is a listing that shows a pretty healthy used price for a good part of the year, and then recently a dip in price that could be an indicator of a repricing war, or just a blatant mispricing by the reseller or by the Amazon-based seller. Okay, so this book is interesting because it doesn't really show that. It was consistently selling for the last 3 months of about $52, that's great data, especially considering that the price right now is about $7. But in the past, the book has been as low as $4. And probably one of the reasons why it was lower is because Amazon was on the listing at a lower price than they are now. You can see that the used offer count is a little bit higher as well. And generally, when the used offer price goes up, you're going to see the price go down, because as there's more sellers, meaning as there's more supply, usually the sellers are going to put more downward pressure on the price because they're trying to sell their copy. So let's open up the Amazon listing. Generally, when I'm trying to buy books, I'm trying to buy the book for its historical low value, which in this case might not be necessarily true, because in the past you could have bought this for cheaper or the same price, and at that time the used offer count was lower. So that's kind of giving me a little bit of pause with this book, but let's just check out the listing anyways. Let's see what the offers look like. Okay, so we got 678 and plus $4 shipping. We got 6 copies, 11, 11, 10, 13, 17. Okay, so we got a whole cluster, about 4 or 5 sellers who are in this repricing war that are driving the price down. And here's a great example. Like, the price of this book was $46 on November 5th, and over the last month, the price is just going down, 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 down. Probably because there isn't anyone buying this book, and so people are trying to get the sale. And you can actually see the sales rank did just drop today, so someone did buy this. Whether or not that was to resell or for own personal use, we don't know. But the used buy box has also come down significantly, which means that's probably the prime sellers trying to get rid of this book. So let's see what the prime offer is. So it looks like there's one prime offer at $13.98, and once that prime offer is gone, it goes back up to $43. So that's interesting. So the question is, would I want to buy a copy? This data here looks great. If that data was extended to the whole year, I would say absolutely. The fact, though, that we could have bought this book for a little bit cheaper for a little, a small portion of the year kind of gives me a little bit of pause. But also, there's some strong historical data to show that this is selling for 25 and even up to 37 for a few months out of the year as well. So I think that this book has enough sales velocity that if you're the lowest FBA price, you're probably going to sell this book at around $40. And like I said, in the last few months, it was selling, the lowest used price was $50. So, I mean, I think there's potential there. So if you were to buy the prime offer right now, which is actually a little bit more expensive than the lowest used offer of $13.98. So if we paid $13.98, and you were then to match the next prime offer, $43.71, I mean, you make $12. So it's not an amazing flip, but I would say that if you were to buy this book, I think you would make money on it, but I wouldn't say it's the best. I wouldn't say it's the best copy to buy. Clint says, I like the higher price books, more profit per click, though all profit is good if it meets by my. Yeah, exactly, Clint, for sure. Generally, I look at the higher price books. I just don't generally look at lower price books, so I'm just trying to see what potential there is out there. But yeah, as we get a little bit later in the stream, I'm going to go to higher dollar amounts, and we're going to see if we can buy any of those books. One thing I like about buying higher price books as well is generally what that does is it takes a lot of people out of the running, because most people come from the thrift model, which is, hey, I'm going to spend between $0 to $3 per book. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I have to spend 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks for a book. That's going to take a lot of people out of the mix. Okay, so this book is a law book. From experience selling law books, you have to sell the newest edition in most cases. If you're picking up the older edition, usually they tank. And you can actually see there is a newer edition on the listing. And if I hover over the Keepa chart, one of the good signs is that there aren't very many. It looks like the used offers, like it looks like there haven't been very many used offers available on the listing. It looks like for the most part, this book, if you want to buy it, you have to pay over $200 brand new. So probably this book just came out, but you can see that the price of this book since August has tanked from, I mean, basically selling for 90 plus all the way down to 945. The used offer count has risen a little bit. You can see it kind of went down a little bit here in August when there were people buying the book. But this book has been out for 2016, so it's been out for quite a long time, and there is a newer edition out. So from past experience, this would give me a little bit of pause if I, in terms of buying this book, because there is this newer edition out, and technically this older edition has been out for quite some time. Let's see when this was published, 2021. So this was published last year. Okay, and there still aren't very many new offers on the listing. Let's take a look. There's actually only one used offer at 245. What I would say is that in my opinion, I think this book will probably still sell decently in January of this year because of the fact that the new edition is so inflated in price. It's not inflated. It's just because it's so high priced still. But what would determine whether or not I buy this is how many used offers there are and how many prime offers there are. And you see that since there are 7 prime copies at $9, and then it goes up to 25 and then 96, I'm not confident that this book is going to sell that many times in January to get rid of these prime offers, and therefore I wouldn't buy the book. But I wouldn't be surprised, if I'm being honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if this book, if we were to come back and check it in February, I wouldn't be surprised if its price rebounded up to $50 or $60. Okay, but I'm going to pass on that one for that reason. All right, let's come back and let's keep going. Hold Science. This is a crazy book just to show you the power of textbook season. Look at this book. You could have bought it for $334 the whole year, and all of a sudden it went up to $100 plus. So that would have been an amazing flip. The question is that a repeatable pattern? And actually, it kind of looks like it is a repeatable pattern. This was back in August and September of the previous year. This book was going up to 40, 50 bucks, even though you could have bought it for 10. Let's go a little bit further. Same thing, August of 2020, August of 2019. So this is something that you might put a tracker on. Notice that at $8.57, it's actually not the cheapest it's ever been. So maybe you track this book for $3.50. And although I don't like the model of trying to exploit textbook season as your sole business model, I'm not opposed to doing it every once in a while and doing it in a low risk way. I mean, there's historical data to show that this has happened the last 3 or 4 years. For some odd reason, it was more drastic this year. One of the reasons why is probably because the used offer count over time has just been going down and down and down, meaning that every new textbook cycle, there's less offers available, which means that when those lower dollar offers sell out, then there's going to be more higher dollar offers that are out there. One thing that actually is a good sign is that the used buy box for the prime offer is actually pretty high, despite the price of this book being pretty low. But yeah, like I said, this is a potential for me to maybe buy 1 copy or 2 copies and just test out the waters, send them in prime. But again, if I were to buy this, I'd set a tracker for right around like $3 or $4. I'd pick up a great condition book, and then I'd probably send it in. I'd keep it on my shelf, and I'd probably send it in like June or July. And then I'd probably list it at a price that's not that crazy because, that's pretty insane that it went up that high. I'd probably price it like 50 or 60 bucks. But I think there's potential in doing that. I just wouldn't base my entire business model off of all the books I'm buying, trying to exploit textbook season, because I think that's riskier. Meme says, when you do FBM, do you go at buy box price or lower? That's a great question. Generally, the buy box is going to be a prime seller, meaning that if you're doing FBM, you have to be competitive with the FBM offers. So generally, you're going to be below the buy box price because in most cases, the buy box price is a prime seller, and usually there is some sort of prime gap, whether it's 5% or 10%. Sometimes there isn't a prime gap, but most of the time there is. So when I do FBM, generally I'm pricing underneath the buy box. But what I will say is when I do FBM, normally the reason why I'm doing it is because the price of the book is currently inflated, like that book here, for example. And so because the price of the book is inflated, I would already be listing it at a much higher price than I should be. And what I mean by that is in June and July, the price of this book was $334. And then all of a sudden, even for merchant offers, the price went up to $50. Like this black line is the lowest used offer. So I mean, well into July, like the lowest used offer was $98. That probably was going to be a merchant offer, and maybe it's not. But the point is, let's say I had this book in my, like I had this, I bought it and I had it at my house in July. I wouldn't send this book in Amazon FBA. I list it FBM because right now, historically, the price of this book is way inflated and it's going to take time for that book to check into Amazon. I'd rather just get it listed now because if the book's $100, I don't care if I'm selling FBM or Prime because I'm going to be getting a good dollar amount, a good price for that book. So I hope that helps. Okay. Let's see if we can find anything that looks super interesting. I mean, all of these honestly look really good to me in terms of like me wanting to check this book out a little bit more. I'm just trying to see if there's anything that is like a home run before we come back. But pretty much all of these books here are books that I would open and I'd come back and take a look at. Process control. Okay, I'm not seeing anything that looks like slam dunk out of the park home run. But let's go back here. Research design. Let's do this one. This one looks interesting. Okay, who classification. Okay, you can actually see that I actually started tracking this book. So I think I've shown this in a previous stream. Back here, I think this was actually the last week's stream when I started tracking this. The used price was at $12. No, that's what my desired price was. Okay, never mind. What am I saying? I started tracking this November 21st when the price of this was at $20. And now all of a sudden it's down, it hit my tracker at 12. And it looks like it's just going to keep going on lower. So maybe I won't go too much into detail on this one because I must have done this in analyzing in another stream here. But used buy box price is also going down. It could be because there's a newer edition out. And if I'm remembering correctly, I think there was a newer edition, but I think it just wasn't shown here for some reason. Let's see what year this is, 2016. So let's move on from that. Let's see. May says, I'm thinking about doing FBM due to spring semester being around the corner. Yeah, I'd say that if you have books right now, I think you still have time to get them into Amazon if you ship them in within the next week. I still think they're going to be in inventory by mid-January, which is the middle of textbook season. But I would say if it's early January or mid-January and you have textbooks, I would definitely FBM them if it makes sense. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going down. Let's do this research methods book. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so this looks really good actually, in that the price of this book has been pretty consistently about $40 to $50. This experiences 3 textbook season patterns, right? In September, May, and June, and also in January. And then all of a sudden the buy box price has gone from 64 all the way down to 15. So probably a repricing war. Let's take a look at the listing. Clint says, do you feel the used buy box FBA gets a high percentage of sales over lower price MF offers? Yeah, I don't know the exact statistics, but most of the sales on Amazon come through the buy box. And because the buy box generally goes to a prime seller, I would say that even though you have lower MF offers, a lot of the times the price of the book that's selling is well above whatever that lowest used offer line is. So I would say, yeah, most sales are definitely going to come through the buy box. I'm not sure what percentage. I know Steve Rakin from RakinProfits.com. I know he always says, I think 80%. I'm not sure where he got that statistic from, but I would have to do more research. But definitely most people on Amazon are not even aware that there's this little button that says, check out all the used offers. They just go, oh, this is the book I need. Oh, this must be the cheapest price because they think Amazon has their back, which Amazon is just, a lot of time doesn't have their back, and they just click checkout. Yeah. All right. Let's look at the offers here. I'm also not eligible to sell this, so I'd have to go through Amazon Seller Central to see if I could get ungated. It is in Pearson, which makes me think that I'm not going to be able to it makes me think I'm not going to be able to get ungated. But one of the reasons why I'm not going to pick this book up is that RentU and also, who's this? Textbook Bookie. They have a lot of copies, and RentU in particular is a prime seller, and they have 15 copies. So they have a whole bunch of stock that they're trying to get rid of. The good thing for them is that textbook season's coming up, and the sales rank goes down really low. It goes down to like 50,000. So they'll probably will sell all 15 copies. This book has potential, so I'd be interested to see what this comes back to. Like if I came back to this listing in February to see what had happened. But there's so many sellers that have a high number of copies that I'm not going to buy that book. Okay, let's just keep going. Let's keep moving down the line. Introduction to quantitative EEG and neurofeedback. All right. This looks good in that number of sales for 60 to 70, even a couple sales back here for 80. Interestingly, in March, the price of this book went down to $6.52. If you were tracking this book for $7 and you got notified and you bought that book, you could have sold it here for 69. So that's why you want to use that track product feature. Historical data in the past looks really good. Like usually this book is priced consistently above 40, 50 bucks. There is a newer edition of the book out, but it is not yet released. So the listing is on there. Let's see, would you have to pre-order this? Yeah, you'd have to pre-order it. And it doesn't even tell you when this would be available. So let's see what the publication date says. March 15th. Okay, so we do know this book's not going to become available until March 15th. So you have a good 3.5 months until that newer edition comes out. The question is, what are these used offers looking like right now? So let's go ahead and let's take a look. See what's up here. Okay, so we got Glenn at 2167. I wonder if the Keepa data that they're showing us is just wrong here, just flat out wrong, because technically the lowest use price should be $8, right? It didn't go up recently, but it's not showing me that price. So I'm not sure why that would be. Let me just refresh the page. Let me see if that's the reason. And I'm also going to go over to Bookfinder to see what's up. But generally, this should be $8, but it's not. So it could be that Keepa is just showing incorrect data. Keepa tracks millions of products. So the fact that they're actually so accurate is awesome, to be quite honest with you. But it looks like Keepa is just showing incorrect data. It looks like the lowest price is about $20. And yeah, let's see, $20 second sale, the United States. Biblio, these are actually Amazon Germany. These are all Germany prices as well. So it looks like $25 is the cheapest price. The question is that actually a good deal? I mean, if you bought it for 25 and flipped it for 65, what it's been selling for, I mean, it's not a terrible deal. I think it would sell, especially since January and February is coming up. It looks like that's when it sells more frequently. But yeah, it's interesting that Keepa looks to be a little bit off on their data there. There's 21, there's a 25, 25, 20. What's the prime offer on this? Or are there prime offers? Actually, there's a couple of prime offers. There's 3 or 4 prime offers, pretty low. So maybe you wouldn't want to pick up this book because, again, it isn't selling a ton. And because there are 3 or 4 prime offers at that lower price, they're probably just trying to get rid of it again for the restock limit. So that's also a case where I wouldn't buy it because of that reason. All right, let's just keep going. We saw that book in the past. I think we've even seen Quantum Mechanics in the past. Here's a book that I don't think we've looked at. This is Parties and Elections in America. You can see this book went from $45 down to $8.30 in a couple of days. But I mean, generally this book is selling for about $30. And you can see that even the new third-party seller has been as low as $23. So even though the price of this book went up to about $50 in August and September, that was definitely inflated because of textbook season. Curiously, or what's curious is that the buy box is still at $57, which is good news. Let's see what the offers look like. Looks like we have about 4 offers in total, like 4 copies available at around 12. I guess the cheapest is $11.54. So if you were to pick this up for $11.54, right now the buy box is, what was it again? $57. And that looks like that's actually a merchant seller because they have $3.99 shipping, but they have 35 in stock, which is pretty crazy. I mean, what is the real historical value of this? I'd argue it's around 25. So, I mean, if you sell for 25, you're not really profitable. You make $3. But if you try to exploit the prime gap a little bit and you're able to hit the buy box, then it would definitely be profitable. But again, that's a little bit more of a risky model. So let's just keep going. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking like, wow, you go through a lot of books and you're not buying anything. Well, the idea is that I go through these things really quickly. Like it would only take me 5 or so minutes to go through 20 listings like this. I'm just doing a lot of deeper analysis and walking through it so that you can understand my thought process, because I always say the most important thing is to not buy bad books. It's actually more important than buying good books because it's way easier to lose money than it is to make money. So you want to make sure your purchasing decisions are sound. Okay, this is interesting because all of a sudden this book went from 157 down to $8.83. The used offer count has increased a little bit, but not significantly more than it has been in the past when it's been selling for about $50. It looks like the new third-party price, even though it was lower, around like $60, all of a sudden it's now matching Amazon at 184. Buy box is $37. You can buy this for $8.83. This might be a good pickup. Books from California, Jensen Books, and Seattle Goodwill. So there's three people there at around, let's see, right around like 12 to 15, 12 to $15. Looks like there is a newer edition that's out, although, let's see, Bauman's Cosmetic, yeah. So there's a newer edition of this book out, but the price of that book is also super inflated right now, which is good. It probably somewhat recently came out. Yeah, August 2nd, 2022. It's only been out for like 3 or 4 months, and the price is still over $200. Like actually 170 new, like 170 to 190 new. So this book is still definitely going to sell in my opinion, and I think it's undervalued right now. So what do I think we could sell this book for? Let's take a look at what the prime offers look like. So we have 37, two Amazon Prime sellers at 37, then it goes up to 129. Is this a textbook season? I mean, yeah, this has sold, I mean, kind of from January to May, it's sold pretty consistently. It doesn't look like there actually is a textbook pattern to that per se, but this is a book that I would pick up. So I would pay, so this $8.83 plus 4. So we're looking at $12.82, $12.82. Right now the prime buy box is $37.47. I think you could easily sell it for that, and you'd make $8, which is not amazing. But it, like I said, there's historical data of this selling for upwards of $160 plus. And also in the past, it's sold pretty consistently for 50 or 60 at the same used offer count as it is today. So what I would say is probably what I would do, especially because January is coming up, which is the textbook season. I know it didn't really look like it had that much of a textbook season pattern, but I'd probably price mine. So there's 37, 37, and then it goes to 129. I'd probably price mine at like 70, probably like $69.99, and I'd try to sell it at that. That's what my goal would be, because again, probably what's going to happen is those two prime sellers are going to sell out. Then I would be the lowest prime seller. And like I said, historically, this book should be able to sell for 50 to 60. So that's a book I'm also going to pick up a copy of if no one buys that. Let's go over here and see if it's actually the cheapest price, though, on the internet, or if it's cheaper elsewhere. Looks like, yeah, Jensen is the cheapest at $12.82. Jensen and Books from California. So they're both very good. I'd say that's, in my opinion, that's a book that I'd pick up, and I've had good success buying books like that. Here's another one of these Believe in God leader kits, but notice that this has to come with all these things. And the reason why the price is so low is probably because the person selling this is not clear whether or not it comes with those things, or two, they're explicitly stating that it doesn't come with half the things or something. But just out of curiosity, like for example, Goodwill says this is an audiobook, which is, I mean, it's more than an audiobook. There's also books that come with it. That's why the price is so low. So what I would be looking for here is for somebody to have their price be really low and also include all the things, which I doubt is going to happen, but I would still just look at it to see if that's true. Yeah, so I don't, you kind of want something like this. This person says complete set. So if I saw the complete set with everything that's in this listing down here, this is something for sure that I would buy, because it's got some pretty good historical data to show that it can sell for some good money. But looks like we didn't come across that. The mixed methods, nutrition and you, process control. Again, this has been selling for about $50 pretty consistently. Then in September, when even had a couple sales above 100, has been as low as 28 back in January and February, and all of a sudden it's down to 859. Let's take a look at what the offers look like and see if there's potential. There is a newer edition out. Let's see what the newer edition's Keepa chart looks like in the bottom right here. So this, again, this title hasn't been released either. Let's see when that's coming out. Let's go down to the publishing date, February 1st. So this is coming out in a couple months. Notice that to buy it new, though, Amazon's charging you $160, and that could change, but I would bet that it's going to stay that way for a while. So it's good that this newer edition is inflated. Not inflated, it's good that it has a high price like that. because it means that we have room to sell our price. It means we have room to sell our book for a higher price. What's crazy is that despite this book being $9.27 at the lowest used offer, the buy box is 144. So there's somebody out there who could come across this book and they see this right here and they go, oh, 144. I guess that's what I have to buy it for. And they go over here and they check out and they pay $144 for a book they could have paid $9 for. Looks like there's 4 offers that are competing for the next sale. And then it shoots right back up to 64 and then up to 83. Now, the thing though about this, again, this is another Pearson book and I'm not eligible to sell it. So I'd be curious to see if I can even sell it. So behind the scenes, I'd have to see if I can get ungated in that. But I'm gonna come over here to to Bookfinder to see if anyone's willing to give me a buyback offer. You can actually see that there is Booksrun willing to give me $2 for this book. And the reason why I wanted to check this is because I've come across books on Amazon that literally you could buy them on Amazon and sell them back to a buyback company for more money than you bought it on Amazon for. And again, that's just due to the market always changing and the fact that anyone can list their book on Amazon for whatever they want. My bet would be that if you came across this book, like let's say you're able to pick up this book for, I don't know, $12 and you had it back here in August when the price of this book was 40 or 50, I bet you the buyback price from Booksrun or some of these other offers would be right around what you could buy the book for. But that's just something that I like to do sometimes to see. So the first thing I'd want to do is to see if I can get ungated in it. And if obviously if I can't get ungated, then I'm not going to buy it. But it looks like there is a good copy, a very good copy here for about 15. So what would you sell this book for if you bought it for 15? So say you bought it for 15. I mean, you'd probably sell it for what it's historically been selling for, probably like $49.99. So I mean, you'd make about 100% ROI, $16 profit. But again, right now the buy box is 144, and just because the lowest use offer is 45 or 50 doesn't mean that all of these sales are for that price. It just means for us to be conservative in our model, we're going to say that that's what we think we can sell the book for. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one there for me as well to go back and see if I can actually sell it. Okay, let's go and look at maybe some of the, let's just look at this last one and then we'll go for higher price books to see if there's potential there. Okay, so August and September, this book sold, looks like 5 times for north of $85 at least. Then it sold a couple times in July, right before the textbook season for 16. So if you're somebody who came across this data and was using this tool back in July, you actually made decent money because you're like, hey, this book has sold for $50 a number of times. It's sold a couple times for 70, even once for 80. Now it's 16. If you were to have bought those 2 copies and flipped them back on Amazon, I mean, look what happened to the price. You could have sold this for $85 and made a pretty decent profit. Now, what's interesting is that now all of a sudden the price of this book is down to $783. So let's go and take a look at the listing because notice what's coming up right now is January textbook season. So there's potential of buying this, getting it in there in time, and potentially flipping it. Now there is a newer edition of this book out as well, but even the price of that newer edition is pretty high right now, so that's good. And let's see what the offers look like. Okay, textbook agent has 11. So generally the more offers, that more copies of a book somebody has in stock, the more risky it is going to be because these people who have so many copies have a lot of money invested in these books because probably they bought these books for more than what they're trying to sell it for. They're just trying to sell it at a loss to get some money, like just to get their capital back. So generally when you see people with so many offers on, like so much stock available, that's a dead sign. That's like a dead giveaway that you probably wouldn't want to buy it because the price is going to stay pretty low for like a long period of time, in my opinion. But so I wouldn't buy that book just for that reason, high stock quantity. And there's one more book over here on this page. Okay, no. Let's go back. Let's actually check out, you know what? Let's actually check out Flipmine real quick because we haven't checked out Flipmine at all today. Let's go over, I'm going to go to my book search 1. I'm only going to look at some of the newer listings as well. Like this one just came up. Let's see if any of these, this one is also new. I'm only going to look at the newer offers, and let's look at that one. So we're looking at 3 from Flipmine. 55 you had to buy it for on eBay. On the Amazon page, it looks like it's the same, about 55. Looks like the buy box is 155 though. I mean, you could argue that maybe it's historically a little bit undervalued, because back earlier in the year it was selling for about 120, and all of a sudden now it's down to 50. But you'd be buying it for what it's worth. So if you were to buy it right now and try to sell it to make money, you'd be trying to exploit the buy box, which you definitely could because this book has pretty good sales velocity, but it's a riskier business model because it's also likely that you couldn't do that. And in that case, you're buying a book for what it's worth. And then if you're reselling it for what it's worth, you're going to lose money or barely break even. So I wouldn't buy that book. This book is 18 here. Looks like it's 15 over here on the Amazon page. The reason why Flipmine returned this result and said that this inferred lowest offer 61 is due to the fact that for the last 6 months, the price of this book has been pretty inflated. But previously, before that, the price of this book was dead. It was super cheap. So this is something that I wouldn't buy for 18 because you could have bought it for 6 months out of the year for much cheaper than that. So that would not be a good deal either. Okay, this book here, $27.99. I have a feeling that this is going to be a good book. And it's not going to be a good book. Why is it not going to be a good book? Because we could have bought this for between $8 to $10 for some period throughout the year. Now, I would argue that if you could have picked this book up for like $8, that would have been a decent deal considering there have been sales at $30. I mean, it's not going to be a home run by any means, but you see that the book didn't actually even sell here because people were trying to sell this for $199 and $170. And that's just a reminder that you could ask whatever you want for a book. That doesn't mean it's going to sell. And you can see clearly that when people were asking for the moon, nobody was willing to give them the moon. So we would not buy that book either. Let's see, is there anything else that looks interesting? This looks cool. This looks cool as well. I'm looking for big differences in prices, and this looks good, potentially. But when I say looks good, I don't mean I'm going to buy it. I just mean I want to look at it. Okay, dead giveaway for not buying this book is the spine is completely thrashed. So even if that was a good deal, which it arguably is actually a decent deal, if you were to get it at best offer accepted, it's not going to be a book you want to sell. That's probably going to get returned. Okay, this is $54.99. This is a loose leaf. Over here on the Amazon page, okay, so this is actually this would be a good deal in my opinion, because right now over here from this guy, you could buy this book for $54.99 free shipping. And right now the lowest price or the lowest used price is 92. So that is also, like, if we look at the historical data on Keepa, the used price here, it's generally above $100 and even upwards of like 130, 140. There was a time here in August and September where the price went down to 45. And again, that's another reason why you should be tracking the book, because if it went down to that price, you could have, like, if this happened at that time, you could have bought a copy and probably sold it for about 140 or 150. And the evidence that that's true is that later on you see 3 drops at well above $100. So this is a book that, again, if you want to buy, if you bought it, you'd want to sell it here in January and February. That's textbook season. This is still something that I would probably send an offer on though, because it's a little bit too expensive for me still. $54.99. I mean, right now the buy box is 92. So if you sold at the buy box, you're going to make a little bit of money, but not as much as you'd want to make. And right now there are 4 new offers available. So is this not even a prime seller? Yeah, this is not even a prime seller. So if you came in at maybe like 115, 120, I bet you would get the prime. I bet you'd get the buy box. But there's 4 new sellers, and okay, one of them is a prime seller. So let me take that back and reverse that, because prime is a prime seller 106. You probably need to list it under that unless you're waiting for them to sell out. But based upon the historical data, I would say that probably you should be able to sell this book for 110. And if you were to sell for 110, that's not 110. 110, you'd make $30 if you were to sell for $54.99. So this is something that I would want to send an offer on. And the way that you could do that is just by messaging the seller here. Now, before I do that though, let's go and take this ASIN and let's put it into the book counterfeit probability check, because one thing that kind of alarmed me a little bit was the fact that when I looked at the pages, they're all black and white and there isn't any color. That doesn't mean that it's counterfeit. It just means that it's more likely to have been printed rather than, like, printed with printer paper rather than actually be a real book. So that's why I wanted to check to make sure it was. If it says it's unlikely, that doesn't mean it's not counterfeit. It just means that probably it's not counterfeit. but it still could be. You don't know. But yeah, if you sell it for 110, you make $28 profit. If you were to get this for cheaper, like let's say you send an offer and you get it for like 45, all of a sudden it's a lot better of a book because now you can make $38 in that book. So I'd say this would probably be a good pickup for this book. But if it were me, I would send an offer. I'd probably send an offer for 40 and see what they said. See if I could pick it up from that. Pick it up for that. Let's just do a couple more of these. So this is The Tale of the Beetle of the Bar. I think this is a Harry Potter book, collector's edition set. Yeah, it comes with a case. I've seen this book before, and right now it's $232 on Amazon, the lowest used price, and the buy box is $249.99. Now, what's interesting is that now this book probably sells between like $150 on the low end and $250 to $300 on the high end. So what is this, $140 right now? You can make an offer. Does it come with everything? It looks like it might come with everything, but there is definitely some wear on the book. I think that's wear. I don't think that's part of the book. Yeah, that's definitely wear. So it's definitely not going to be in great condition, but it does come with everything. This is something that if it was cheaper, like maybe in the $70 or $80 range, that would have some good potential. Okay, is there anything else that is recently out on FlipMine? Let's see. I'm not seeing anything that's making me feel super excited. I just want to open this just because I'm curious why the price of this book is so low in the 180 offer. And why FlipMine got this book, like why it returned this result. Okay, that's just, must be some sort of error that picked that book up at. Okay, I would doubt that this $296 is actually accurate, but let's just take a look at it anyways. Yeah. I mean, there is one recorded historical sale for $473. Now, whether or not the person actually bought it or they returned it, I don't know. But yeah, the real price of this book is around $20 new. So it should be less than that, but definitely not a good book either. And if you're somebody who uses FlipMine, I do have an affiliate link on my FlipMine YouTube channel, or my FlipMine video. So if you do want to try out FlipMine, I think there is some potential. I would definitely say, from my opinion, that it's getting a little bit more congested. Like there's definitely more people using it, not just because of me, but because of other people making videos as well and teaching people how to do this. But like you saw, I mean, I didn't spend much time. We found a good book that has potential. This book right here, you know, if you can get a best offer accepted for that book, that'd be a great deal. So you can see there's still potential, but yeah, if you are going to sign up, I do have an affiliate link. I'd appreciate it. That's one way to support the channel. But everyone, that's all I have for you today. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and just hang out for a bit. And if you have questions or you just want to chat a bit, just say, what's up, man? Like, how are things going? Any questions, any way that I can be of service to you, any way I can help you? What's going on in your business that you need help with? Or what's going on? Let's see. And if no one has anything to say, it's all good too. I'm cool wrapping it up. Can I explain how to use a business credit card? Okay. Yeah, I have multiple business credit cards. So how to use it? What you want to do is separate first. You want to separate your expenses, like your living expenses for your personal everyday spend, from your business account. So you want to have a business account, like a banking account, like a checking account, and also a personal checking account. And then what I would do is all the money you're going to use to spend in your business to buy product, is all that money should be in the business checking account. And then when you do get a business credit card, you're going to link the business credit card to, or in other words, the money that you use to pay off the business credit card is going to come from the money in that business checking account. So can I explain that? Okay, so basically the business credit card, like if you go over to Chase business credit cards, they have a lot of great deals, and I can actually show you the credit cards that I have from Chase. So I have the Business Unlimited credit card. I have the Business Cash credit card. Actually, those are the only two business credit cards I have right now. But basically, they're a $900 bonus for $6,000 spend in the first 3 months. So this $900 bonus back is actually, it could also be Chase Ultimate Rewards. And what I've been doing, actually, you can't see my screen. What am I doing right now? Let me share my screen so you can see what I'm doing. Do that. Okay, so here they are right here. Here's the Chase business credit cards. I have the Ink Business Unlimited and the Ink Business Cash. These are both $900 bonus cash back after you spend $6,000 in 3 months. For me and my business, I'm easily able to cash flow spending $2,000 a month. So for me, this is a no-brainer because either I can decide to take $900 cash back and spend that on more inventory, or what I like to do is I just rack up the travel points. So this is basically 90,000 Chase Ultimate Rewards, and I believe the redemption value is about 1.25 cents per point. So it's actually about like $1,200 worth of value in travel if you take the points from the business checking account and you move them over to a Chase Sapphire Preferred, or if you have the business preferred, which I don't have. So basically what I do with all my points is I transfer them over to my personal Chase Sapphire Preferred card that gets 1.25 cents per point back. And that's basically how I paid for free flights to Hawaii, to Costa Rica. I'm going to pay for free flights to Vietnam with that as well. So I use business credit cards because you get crazy, insane sign-up bonuses, and you can, travel the world for free by doing this. So I hope that helped, Raspy. Do I ever max out my credit cards? I cash flow my credit card, meaning I only ever spend how much money I have in real cash to pay off my credit card. So no, I never max out my credit card. I always pay off my credit card in full and on time by the end of the statement balance. I have cards that are 0 APR, but I don't take advantage of that because if you want to be a profitable business, you have to spend the money that you have, not other people's money. Because if you spend other people's money, I understand you can introduce leverage and the leverage can help you grow. But the problem is if you don't actually follow through, then you are in debt. And if you're in debt, then that's a huge issue. So for me, I only ever spend what I have available. I think this year I've spent about $40,000 in books. Like that's how much I've invested of my own money. And so basically, whenever books sell on Amazon, I take the money back that I take the cost of goods sold back. And so I just forever have this $40,000 of money that's going to come available to me throughout the year, and I just keep spending that money. So I always just cash flow. It. So no, I don't max out my credit cards. I just spend the same amount of money I'd spend anyways. I just use a credit card and then use the money in my business checking account to pay out the credit card in full and on time every month, so that then I can get credit card rewards and I can travel the world for free, which is a really cool thing to do. I heard I heard there's a new company like Keepa. I also heard that too. May, do you know what the name of the company is? Maybe I can do a free trial and compare. I'm curious of what you use. I definitely wouldn't say I'm a Keepa expert, but I would say I've been reading Keepa charts for about 7 or 8 years. So I've been around the block a couple times. But do you know what the name of it is? Because I've heard of that as well. But I appreciate it, Clint. I appreciate Clint. Yeah, do you know what the name of it is? Because I will check it out. Maybe I will make a video. Raspi. I don't know if it's Raspi or Raspi, whatever it is. Cool name. When do I pay them on the statement due date? Yeah, I pay them on the statement due date. So for example, I have both of those Chase business credit cards. I think they're due on like the 22nd, and I do have balances on them, but I have money in my business checking account that is going to pay for those balances in full and on time. So I don't get charged interest because Raspi. All right, cool. It's Raspi. Yeah, because let's see. I'm doing this right. Okay. So you're not sure what it's called, maybe? Okay. Yeah, I'll have to see. I know someone told me about it and I hadn't looked at it, but I'm curious to see if it could be better. I would say I highly doubt that it could be better. And the only way, honestly, that I think it could be better is if it actually scrapes Keepa's API, which means it uses Keepa's data and just reformats it in an easier way to view it. That's the only way that I think it could be useful, but I would highly doubt it. But I would still be willing to give it a try because I'm open to learning, and I hope that I'm wrong. Hopefully that it's even better than Keepa. Any other questions out there, Raspy or Maymay or anyone else? Clint? Oh, Clint says platform for most of your finds, Amazon to or Flipmine or other, or is it even mixed? Good question. I would say I'm about 25% eBay. That'd be Flipmine. I'm about 50% Amazon to Amazon. So that'd be Keepa Deals page, Keepa Product Finder, which is what we did today, and the Keepa Track product feature. So that's about 50% are Amazon to Amazon flips. And the other 25% would be like OfferUp flips. So OfferUp flips, yeah, no worries, Raspy. OfferUp flips would be going on a website called OfferUp and finding books there. So if you go to OfferUp, let's just go to OfferUp right now. You can go to OfferUp. I have a video on my channel. I think it says like how to make thousands of dollars flipping books from OfferUp to Amazon. And so like right now in San Diego, you can see this was, I guess this was listed 3 days ago. But for example, I know from experience, these two books back here, this 2-volume set is worth, and again, I don't think you can see. No, you can't see. What am I doing? What am I doing? Okay, now you should be able to see. So I'm over here on OfferUp. I just typed in, let's see, let me make sure it's showing up on the stream. Okay, I'm over here on OfferUp, and this listing up here that's 3 days old, I already know from experience that this 2-volume set back here is like worth well over $100. And you can see the price is $10 plus shipping. It's probably not the price of these books. So you'd want to ask them and make an offer or say like, how much money are you asking for it? But the point is, OfferUp is a place where you can find books that are completely undervalued. The problem with OfferUp is there's a lot more work that goes into buying books. For example, let's say this pharmacology book. I don't think this is worth picking up at this price. But if shipping wasn't available, you'd have to convince the person to ship the book to you. And that whole process of messaging people is very similar to like a garage sale. It's like an online garage sale. And the biggest upside of doing OfferUp flipping is that the margins are insane. Like you can buy a book for 15 bucks and sell for 100 pretty easily. The issue is that the people selling you the book don't have any experience reselling online and shipping things. So sometimes you have to like handhold them through the whole process. So the amount of time it takes per book purchase is way higher, but at the same time, the amount of profit per book is way higher. So it's like if you compare it to Amazon flipping or eBay to Amazon flipping, it might actually work out to be the same when you factor in the amount of time it takes you to find books like that. But I'd say about 25% flip mine, eBay to Amazon, 25% OfferUp, 50% Amazon to Amazon. I do, yeah, Raspy, I have scripts made for OfferUp, right? So yeah, I have a list of, so it's just a website called Auto Hockey. You download Auto Hockey, and then what you should be able to do, and again, you can't see my, let me just open it, and then I'll go ahead and share my screen so you can see it again. Here, okay, so let me share my screen again. There we go. Okay, so Raspy says I do have scripts, right? So I think what Blaine said he's peace now. Let's see. No, Clint said, cool man, great training day, learn a new trick every time. Glad you had fun, man. And take it easy, man. Thanks for stopping by. So here's Auto Hockey. Here's a script that I use for OfferUp. I basically assign specific keys to explain things, and I do that to speed up the process because again, the con of this method is you have to communicate with people. You have to be a good communicator, and you have to be very explicit with all of your instructions. For example, CV, please wrap the book in a few grocery bags for protection, fill any void space. Ideally, there shouldn't be any rattling in the package. Why do I say that? Because I've gotten so many books. In the beginning, when I started this, people would just send like 3 books in a giant box, and then the box would be thrashed, the books would be thrashed. So it's like a lot of hand-holding. So there's potential, but at the same time, it takes a lot more patience. But I would say that it's definitely a good way to flip some books. Let's see. Oh, I didn't even know that you can show this on stream. Wow, I'm learning something new every time, Clint. So I can show that. So cool, man. Great training. Learn a new trick every time. Awesome. All right. So I think we're going to wrap it up unless anyone has any other questions. But I appreciate you spending the time with me today. It was super fun. And if you find any books using these methods, hit me up in the DMs behind the scenes because I'd love to see what you pick up, and it'd make me happy to see that you're being successful with the things I'm teaching you. But that's all I have for you today. So have a great time. Spend some time with your family. Have a great Saturday. I know I will. Am I going to school? I am a high school teacher. So I do teach chemistry, and that's my day job. So I do that 5 days a week, and I come home after school, and I flip some books on Amazon, man. Yeah, for sure. I think Aram. I think Aram. I think that's you said I say it. If that's not how I say it, correct me if I'm wrong. But no worries. Thanks for stopping by. And you're in Los Angeles, so that's pretty cool that you're so local. I'm in San Diego. May May says thank you. Raspy says bye. Thank you. You're welcome. Have a good one, everyone. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on the next one. See you, man. See you, Gary. Thanks for your help. Yeah, no worries, Gary, for sure. And hopefully we'll do this next Saturday. But have a good one. I'm gonna peace out. Oh, you're Southern California too, Raspy. Awesome. Where at in Southern California? I'm specifically Oceanside, which is part of North San Diego County. You can tell that I don't think any of you are going to come to my house and murder me because I'm giving away my location. But yeah, I would love to meet up with people in the future. I love networking and helping people out. But yeah, we're in Southern California if you don't mind sharing your location. I promise you I won't go murder you. You're in South. Oh wait, it says you said you're in Riverside County. Awesome. Temecula. Okay, cool. Temecula. Yeah, it's only about like 45 minutes away from Oceanside. I actually got my bachelor's degree at UC Riverside, so I'm familiar with the Riverside area. Clint says he's from Indiana. Yeah, man. So unfortunately, that would be a plane trip. That would not be a drive. Oh, you're from the Pasadena area. Cool. My wife actually went to school in the Pasadena area for college. So sounds good, everybody. It's good to see where everyone's from. Appreciate y'all being here. I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of my day with my wife and my baby boy. So have a good one, everyone. Go flip some books, and I'll see you on the next one. Oh, your brother's going to UCR right now? Awesome. Yeah, I went from 2012 to 2016. I loved it there. Go Highlanders. And yeah, I loved it there, man. All right. Have a good one, everyone. I'll see you on the next Saturday live stream. Peace.